What would you give up for security? It's a question as old as civilization itself. But in the digital age, the answer has taken on a chilling new urgency. After the horrors of 9/11, the United States government, in its haste to prevent another attack, passed a law that fundamentally altered the relationship between the government and the governed. That law was the Patriot Act, and its legacy continues to shape our lives in profound and often unseen ways. This isn't just about phone records or emails, it's about the very essence of what it means to live in a free society. It's about the right to dissent, to question authority, to live without the constant fear of being watched. When we sacrifice these fundamental liberties in the name of security, we risk losing far more than we stand to gain. This essay will delve into the hidden depths of the Patriot Act, exploring its far-reaching implications and the ongoing debate about its impact on our freedoms. We will examine the historical context of its passage, the specific powers it granted, and how those powers have been used and abused over time. In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, a climate of fear and uncertainty gripped the nation. Images of the collapsing towers, the smoldering Pentagon, and the heroic passengers of Flight 93 were seared into the collective consciousness. The government, eager to reassure a shaken public, promised swift and decisive action. Just weeks after the attacks, Congress, driven by a sense of urgency and fueled by patriotic fervor, passed the Patriot Act with overwhelming bipartisan support. The law, officially titled the Uniting and Strengthening America by Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct Terrorism Act of 2001, was sold as a necessary tool to combat terrorism and prevent future attacks. However, critics argued that the law was rushed through with little debate or scrutiny, and that its sweeping provisions posed a serious threat to civil liberties. Their concerns, often dismissed as alarmist at the time, would prove to be tragically prescient. The Patriot Act, despite its innocuous-sounding name, granted the government a vast array of new powers, many of which had little to do with terrorism. These powers, often shrouded in vague language and legal complexities, fundamentally shifted the balance of power between the government and its citizens. One of the most controversial aspects of the Patriot Act was its expansion of the government's surveillance powers. The act weakened the warrant requirements for wiretaps, allowing the government to eavesdrop on phone calls, emails, and internet communications with far greater ease. It also granted the FBI broad authority to obtain personal records without a warrant, including library records, financial transactions, and medical information. These provisions, justified in the name of national security, effectively created a system of mass surveillance, where the government could monitor the communications and activities of ordinary citizens with little oversight or accountability. Central to the Patriot Act's expansion of surveillance powers was the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, or FISA Court. This secretive court, established in 1978 to oversee requests for surveillance warrants in national security cases, was thrust into a new and powerful role. The FISA Court operates outside the traditional judicial system, with proceedings shrouded in secrecy. Its judges, appointed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, meet in secret and issue rulings based on evidence presented by the government, with no adversarial process or public scrutiny. The Patriot Act significantly expanded the FISA Court's jurisdiction, allowing it to authorize surveillance on a much broader scale. Critics argue that the court's lack of transparency and accountability makes it ripe for abuse, allowing the government to conduct surveillance with little fear of judicial oversight. Section 5. Whispers in the Dark. Snowden and the Surveillance State. For years, the true extent of the government's surveillance activities remained hidden from public view. Then, in 2013, Edward Snowden, a former National Security Agency contractor, leaked a trove of classified documents that sent shockwaves around the world. Snowden's revelations exposed the staggering scope of the NSA's surveillance programs, including the collection of phone records of millions of Americans, the interception of internet communications, and the hacking of foreign governments and corporations. The leaks confirmed what many had long suspected, that the Patriot Act had ushered in an era of unprecedented government intrusion into the private lives of its citizens. Snowden's actions sparked a global debate about the balance between privacy and security in the digital age. Governments defended their actions as necessary to combat terrorism, while privacy advocates argued that the mass collection of data was a violation of fundamental rights. Section 6. A legacy of expansion. The Patriot Act's evolution. Despite the controversy surrounding its passage and the subsequent revelations about its abuse, the Patriot Act has been reauthorized and expanded several times since its initial enactment. Each reauthorization has brought with it new provisions that further erode civil liberties in the name of security. In 2005, Congress passed the USA Patriot Improvement and Reauthorization Act, which made many of the Patriot Act's provisions permanent and expanded the government's surveillance powers even further. The law also created new tools for law enforcement, such as national security letters, which allow the FBI to demand personal records from companies and individuals without a warrant or judicial oversight. The Patriot Act's legacy of expansion continued in the years that followed, with each new administration finding new ways to exploit its broad authorities. The law has been used to justify a wide range of government actions, from the prosecution of whistleblowers, to the deportation of immigrants, to the suppression of political dissent. Section 7. The high cost of security, eroding liberties in the name of protection. The Patriot Act's most enduring legacy is its chilling effect on free speech and dissent. The law's broad language and vague definitions of terrorism have created a climate of fear and self-censorship, where individuals and organizations are reluctant to speak out against government policies or engage in activities that could be perceived as subversive. Journalists, activists, and whistleblowers have been targeted under the Patriot Act, their work chilled by the threat of government surveillance and prosecution. Libraries and bookstores have faced pressure to disclose their patrons' reading records, while internet companies have been compelled to hand over user data to the government. The erosion of these fundamental freedoms has a corrosive effect on democracy. When citizens are afraid to speak their minds or challenge those in power, the very foundations of a free society begin to crumble. Section 8. The debate rages on privacy versus security in the digital age. The debate over the Patriot Act is ultimately a debate about the balance between privacy and security in the digital age. It's a debate that has no easy answers, and one that will continue to shape our world for years to come. On the one hand, there is no doubt that the government has a legitimate interest in protecting its citizens from terrorism and other threats. The 9/11 attacks were a stark reminder of the very real dangers we face in an increasingly interconnected world. On the other hand, the government's pursuit of security must not come at the expense of our fundamental freedoms. Mass surveillance, the erosion of due process, and the chilling of dissent are not the hallmarks of a free society. Finding the right balance between these competing imperatives is one of the most pressing challenges of our time. It is a challenge that requires careful consideration, robust debate, and a steadfast commitment to the principles of liberty and justice for all. Section 9. A call to action, reclaiming our digital freedoms. The Patriot Act, born in the shadow of tragedy, has cast a long shadow over American freedom. Its legacy is one of overreach, abuse, and the erosion of fundamental liberties. But it is not too late to reclaim our digital freedoms and restore the balance between security and liberty. We must demand transparency and accountability from our government, challenging the secrecy that surrounds its surveillance activities. We must hold our elected officials responsible for upholding our constitutional rights and oppose any attempts to further erode our freedoms in the name of security. The fight for privacy is not just about protecting our personal information, it's about protecting the very fabric of our democracy. It's about ensuring that future generations inherit a society where freedom flourishes and the government serves the people, not the other way around.